Hi, welcome to another demo time discussion. Today we're talking data decision making and how it can increase revenue and hotel performance. The terminology big data is often used in the hotel industry, but this is a bit of a misnomer as most hotels data doesn't really qualify as big data. So, what we're really talking about is siloed, disparate, small data across the hotel tech stack and the value to hotels of bringing this data together to help make stronger commercial strategic decisions. To offer their insights, we're joined by Firas from HotelIQ. Through the discussion, Firas will outline his views on how hoteliers can leverage this data more effectively. He will also demonstrate the HotelIQ Decision Cloud Solution and how this can be adapted to each hotel type, commercial need, and budget. Really hope you enjoy the conversation. Roll the intro. Hey Firas, great to welcome you to one of our demo time discussions, and we'll be looking in a bit more detail at the HotelIQ Decision Cloud that you guys have just launched a little later. But first of all, a good way to kick us off is if I could ask you just to give us a brief introduction as to who you are.
So a little bit about me. My name is Firas. I'm the Director of Revenue Operations here at HotelIQ. I've been with the company for about 6 years now, which has really gone by very quickly. And prior to that, I worked in revenue management with Starwood here in Toronto, where I live.
Okay, perfect. And HotelIQ, just very briefly, I know we're going to look into it in a bit more detail, but just sort of headline what HotelIQ, who they are.
Sure, absolutely. So HotelIQ is, a business intelligence and analytics solution for the hospitality industry. What we try and do is to create a digital workspace for hospitality so that our users can make better decisions faster.
Perfect. Brilliant. Okay, well that'll tee up, and that'll all make sense why you're here when we get into the demo later. So as you said, I mean, you guys are also award-winning analytics and business intelligence company, and as you say, I mean, you help hoteliers make better, faster business decisions across siloed operational departments, ultimately with the aim of increasing revenue. So you guys are crunching numbers kind of in simple terms, kind of day in, day out. And it was interesting when we were talking about this. I mentioned to you that we hear a lot of hoteliers. There's a discussion that always goes on about big data. And when I mentioned this to you, you made a comment that you felt it's a bit of a misnomer, as most hotels' data doesn't really qualify as big data. And you used a phrase that you feel was more appropriate, and you actually used the phrase small data. I don't know if that's a phrase that you've coined yourself or is kind of in your circle. That's what you guys call a different set of data. So could you kind of expand on that, and what do you actually mean by small data, and why you think that's maybe more accurate in this context?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, I won't take credit for coining that phrase, even as one, but I think big data is a bit of a misnomer in the industry because really, the data that we deal with in hospitality doesn't really meet the thresholds to qualify for big data. And I'm not a data expert by any means, so I won't want to get too into the weeds on what is and isn't the definition of that. But really, what we're dealing with primarily is data out of source systems. So whether that's coming out of your property management system, a sales and catering system, a POS system, something related to your website, marketing, all that kind of stuff. All that sort of data is really organized. It's something that we are able to handle. It can be stored in databases, and we can work with. I think where the phrase big data can sometimes be, misleading or not really applied properly in hospitality is our data isn't actually that big, but it just seems it's really difficult to get our arms around it. And I think that's because currently in hospitality, we don't have, from a lot of people, the systems, the processes, and the tools to really be able to handle that data effectively. So it seems like, a really incredible task to wrap my arms around that data and to be able to handle it and turn it into an asset, when in effect it's not as scary as it might seem. And so that's why I think big data makes it seem like, a bit of a mountain when it's not so much.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, because it just with its phrase "big data," it kind of feels ominous and
Exactly.
cumbersome to even get started. So, for a you know a hotelier, if you're an independent or a small group, maybe if you're a large group and you've got a bigger team, maybe you could be looking at solutions like that. But there are a lot of hotels globally are not part necessarily of the major groups. So the thought of oh, I've got to cope with big data can be quite can be quite demoralizing. And I think what you were saying is that actually the data is there. They're like small chunks of data that the independent systems are dealing with, but it's that word siloed, isn't it? So it's kind of, they're all sitting there, and although some of the technology is interrelated in terms of how it functions with APIs, the actual ability to pull that data, utilize that data much more effectively, that's where there's a gap, and that's what we'll see later when we talk about HotelIQ. Maybe if you can kind of just put yourself back in your previous role, hotel side, and in the from a hotelier perspective. So if we're thinking about this small data, and if we're looking and thinking, okay, yeah, that's all well and good, but what am I actually what am I losing? What am I missing out on? Or maybe what is some untapped value that I could be gaining if I was able to better harness this small data that exists in these different tech solutions?
I think the number one is, the speed that is involved there. So, from where I was, 6, 7 years ago, even till today, 9 out of 10 people probably who I speak with, their reporting analytics, the foundation for it is some sort of spreadsheet based program. So one poor person is out there, they have to manually pull this data out from different systems. They have to mash it all together in spreadsheets, and then they spread it throughout the organization. So what you have is, you rely on this one person to do this manual work in a tool that isn't really designed for it. So that creates, the room for the margin for error. Just, people make mistakes in spreadsheets; they're hard to pick up on. I did it. I'm not afraid to admit it. Um, and then, it's a single point of failure, right? So you have this one person who basically owns the reporting analytics for the entire organization. And so what often happens in those cases, and this will probably resonate with a lot of people, is that, that person is the quote unquote report person. So now
Mm-hmm.
anytime anyone has a need for data, right? Oh, I want to see, this and this, or would it be cool if I could see this and that? They go to this person and they ask them, can you run me a report? Can you do this? Can you do that? And then this person ends up with, a mountain of emails in their inbox, and they've got, a bunch of requests from everyone. And if they're sick, or, God forbid something happens to them, what happens to your organization's, ability to work with data? So where, tools come in and solve that problem for you is they automate that data collection, they reduce the margin for error, and they speed things up. So now you're not reliant on, that person to run that report and send it out. Maybe they're running late that day and you have a meeting, you could be totally screwed. With the tool, it's there when you need it.
Yeah. And I guess as well, I mean, that's a very expensive way of generating reports.
Yes,
you know
exactly,
so
exactly.
so you're right. You put aside the fact that it's a human being, they can be ill, something could happen, they can be tied up, you can't access it when you need to. But yeah, that's a pretty expensive resource to be using as a main driver for your reports. I guess also, if you're thinking from a risk management point of view, there's a lot of
Yes.
knowledge sitting in one person's hand
Yep.
that if
Yep.
they decide to leave for whatever reason, you've suddenly got to get somebody up to
Exactly.
speed and dealing with that. And I guess also there are strengths that humans have, and there are weaknesses. And one of the weaknesses is sometime being distracted, interrupted. And if we're pulling reports together from different sets of data, there could be some inaccurate numbers or some different data sets that maybe aren't quite where they need to be. I mean, these must be things that you've seen or experienced in previous life or
Oh yeah.
working with.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the other thing, from a cost perspective, is it's inefficient. So not that I'm saying, hire a tool and fire the person.
No, no, no.
No, you hired that person because they're an intelligent, capable person. Maybe they're an analyst right now, but in the future they want to be, I don't know, revenue management, some sort of commercial leader. Their time and their skills are wasted in playing around in Excel all day.
Mm.
So what we like to say is rather than just being report producers, they're more valuable when they can consume the actual data and look at that and pick up on trends and report on things. So just sort of like a higher value use for that person and for your data rather than copy pasting all day.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I guess one of the challenges, however it's being handled, is that you could have a hotel that has a multitude of different pieces of technology, some of which will be some of the most up to date, and some of them will be maybe older legacy systems.
Yep.
So, the back to your point about time and the inefficiencies that can come about trying to pull that information out in itself. I'm guessing, I don't know, you're the expert on the tech side, but I would imagine, and if you're a group with different properties that have maybe come on board or you've opened at different times, that complexity or that time consumption
Exactly.
could be even greater. Is that fair?
100%. Because if you're using manual processes at one hotel, again, a lot of people that I speak to, what they found is, they started off with one hotel, they added two, three, four, whatever. Now they sort of hit a wall because those manual processes don't really scale up. You don't grow in efficiency as you continue to add hotels. It's just the same work that you have to do multiple times over. Whereas with a more advanced technological solution, the benefits accrue the more hotels you have. So if you have one hotel, those benefits are there. If you have 100 hotels, the benefits are even greater because now you're not copying and pasting the same report 100 times over.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think then what would be useful is, obviously calling this a demo time, we know that we're talking about the challenges, and you're going to now show us potentially what a solution could be to the hoteliers. So I think to my question earlier, which is what is the value? I guess if we go and have a look at the actual solution, we'll be able to, hopefully someone watching this will be able to see what the value would be that they can derive if they were able to start to pull all these data sets together. So let's have a look at the HotelIQ Decision Cloud, find out more about it and what it can do to help hoteliers increase revenue. To do that, let's do a little bit of screen sharing. So ready to share your screen when you are. Great, good. Yep, okay. I can see the screen share. I see a number. Okay, there's a lot of information on there. Take us through this then.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So this is the homepage, the landing page that you see when you log into HotelIQ for the first time. And so again, like I was saying, at the beginning, what our vision for HotelIQ is a digital workspace for hospitality. And so this is kind of something that actually came from my experience in the industry. Like I said, I was spending all day between my inbox, between Excel, emailing stuff out and sending things around. And when I started working with HotelIQ, I saw some of the tools and software that we use as a technology company, and I thought to myself, why don't we have this for hospitality? Why doesn't this kind of thing exist? And so, working with the team, we were able to build towards that vision, and that's what we have with Decision Cloud. And so, we very intentionally made that change to the name to include decision in there, because for us, it's really about decisions more than just purely the data. And so it all ties together with that vision for a digital workspace. So what that digital workspace means is that across an organization, whether that is a single hotel or a portfolio of 10, 50, 100 hotels, whatever the case may be, you have a variety of users with different needs for data. And
Hmm.
so what we want to create for them is a single space where all those users can come in and get access to the data that they need to be able to go off and make those decisions for their role. Um, but by doing it all in one cohesive space, everyone is on the same page. Everyone is reading from the same playbook, so to speak.
I've got you.
So, it's not my report says A, your report says B. Everybody's, has the same figures available to them, and they're able to, read from that same playbook. And then at the same time, what we're doing is facilitating some collaboration. So working together, through the tool. What we like to say is HotelIQ, originally and until now took work out of your spreadsheets. This version still does that, absolutely. What we're trying to do now is to take a little bit of work out of your inbox as well.
Understood. Picking up on a word that you used just a moment ago, you used the word single. And I know when we've spoken in the past and when I've spoken and done other videos with Apo, you've used the phrase single source of truth. Can you just sort of explain what you mean by that?
Absolutely. So it goes back to what I was saying, where you can run into scenarios where if you have, someone producing reports, say, for example, in your revenue management organization, you have another person producing reports from your sales organization. They have a meeting and, one person says, my number is A. And this person says, no, my number for that is B.
Hmm.
And then, you have this whole conversation ensues where you have to try and, figure out there in the moment in the meeting why those reports don't line up, why we're looking at two different things. And it could be different systems or different methodologies. It could be an error one side or the other. It could be any number of things, but it's wasted time. It's inefficiency. And so by bringing it all into one place and creating that single source of truth across the organization, we create that alignment. So you don't have to waste any time, making sure that report A and report B match up against one another. You can just go. You can go have that meeting. You can use HotelIQ for that meeting, and everybody is aligned and on the same page.
So if I was having a commercial meeting, so if I'm a GM and I've got my sales, my marketing, my revenue in here, I wouldn't need to be looking at three different reports that each of them have produced. We could all be looking at HotelIQ Decision Cloud and we'd all be looking at each other's data, but we know it's come from a core source. Did I understand that right?
Exactly, 100%. That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay, perfect. Well, show us a bit. Show us a bit about it. I can see there's a number of sections here. So, what do you want to take us through? Because I mean, this is like a short demo to give us a taster, and obviously, if people want to know
Sure.
more, they can reach out to you. But where do you want to?
Yeah,
What journey do you want to take us on?
So I guess we'll start off with at the top of the page. You can see there are some high-level KPIs there.
Mm-hmm.
Very pretty simple stuff. Those KPIs with the variance to last year. You have the ability here to look at those for if you have a multi-property scenario, you can look at for different properties. You can aggregate them together, or you can also look at them across different date ranges as well. And so the use case here is so there is that kind of user out there who wants to just log into the tool. They want to look at that picture for yesterday, the last 7 days, say, oh, okay, here's my occupancy, here's my ADR. And then maybe, they sign out and they go about their day.
Mm-hmm.
But for everyone else within the organization, this serves really as the jumping off point for your experience with HotelIQ.
Okay.
And then, so if I come down the screen here, we can look and we can see these different tiles. And so each one of these different tiles that you see down at the bottom represents different apps within the tool. So we switched to this app-based navigation that everyone is familiar with based on using your phone. And so what this allows is that within the app, we deliver analytics in reports and in dashboards, as well as our data management capabilities. So you have everything that you need for that subject area contained within the app itself.
Got you. Got you. And can you show us an example then? Let's take us into one of those. Let's say market segments or something. Let's dive in and see what it looks like.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's launch that app over here, and that's going to load up for us. So like I mentioned, we serve our analysis in two ways, the first being our dashboards, the second being our reports. And really, these are what I tell people is they're sort of two sides of the coin when it comes to analytics. It's not an either or thing. It's really designed for you to use both of them in conjunction. And
Yep.
again, we're serving different users, different use cases. And so for some of them, the dashboards will be more appealing. For some of them, the reports will be more appealing. So
Gotcha.
with our dashboards, like any dashboard, the idea is to be deliver a lot of information in a visual way, make it very intuitive, make it very interactive, which is something we've tried to do here. So our dashboards, I think, do really well for on a call, pulling it up, presenting it, using it on a meeting, because again, it's something that's intuitive. So I can really answer questions either at a high level or a low level. So again, you have those high level KPIs. We have a view into last year. I can very easily say, what is that picture for the next 12 months? There we go. We can see how that all changed up.
Mm-hmm.
This graph over here is, for each of our clients will be a visual representation. In this case, we're in market segments, so it's their market segmentation. So they have their major market segments on the inside, their minor market segments on the outside. So
Gotcha.
again, if we want to answer that question, how much retail business do we have on the books for the next 12 months? Can click on that. There we go. Now we applied a filter. You can see those KPIs changed. So right off the bat, I can see that my ADR for retail over the next 12 months is already significantly up versus last year.
I like the way you just click on that section, it automatically adjusts everything rather than necessarily going off to another page and then coming back again. That's pretty neat.
That's what it's all about. Even here with this graph, it starts off by showing us each of the next 12 months. We can drill down on that. So say, for example, we want to look at the month of September, and I want to look at, I don't know, if I want to look at the week of the 11th, I can filter just to show me that. Or if I want to zoom in and I want to find a day on that week, I'm going to pick Thursday the 14th because that happens to be my birthday. There we go. So we can see, if you want to see in this case, this is across this entire portfolio that I have here, these 3 hotels. What do we have on the books for September the 14th? I can answer that question. I can see my business mix really, really simply, really easily, right? It doesn't take, you don't have to go through a training to figure out how to use this. It's very visual. It's very simple. So again, we're serving different types of users, different levels of experience in using these kinds of tools. So we want to make it as simple and straightforward as possible.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And you mentioned there's 2 ways of interacting that you've developed. So one is the dashboard, which is a very visual, and then you say there's other ways where either for how people operate or needs operationally, you've got a report area as well. So if we were to use this section, but how we would then use it from a reporting point of view, could you show us that?
Yeah, absolutely. So within the app, we have our navigation here, and let's load up one of our reports. And so the difference with the reports, versus the dashboards is, whereas the dashboards, they only go down to a certain level of detail and granularity, and we only have so many options in terms of the dates available to us. Whereas on the report, I have a much greater level of granularity and detail in what I'm looking at, and I have full control over the dates that I can select. So I can pick any day from the calendar over here if I want to run it for whatever I want to select. We have a bunch of quick, easy options that you can choose from, but you're able to dial that in. And then in terms of the output, what we get over here is not as richly visual as what we saw on the dashboard, but really what we're coming here for is what's down below in this table. So at a glance, I can see year over year for this particular property, the variance in their production, how that breaks down across their market segment hierarchy. And then if I want to understand that in more detail, I can click in and I can drill down and go through that hierarchy. So if we go all the way down there, we can go major to minor, all the way down to their rate code level. So we can see, for example, that's their bar rate code. We can see what their production was, or this year to date versus last year to date, and what that
is granular, right down to rate codes. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. And then we can do that. This is just at a high level. We have a couple other tabs where you can break this down across, monthly, weekly, or daily views as well. And then the other thing that we get here that is really powerful is the ability to apply filters to really contextualize what we're looking at here. So if I unroll our advanced filter capability over here in the parameters window, now here I can, really start to interact with this data and, like I said, contextualize it. So I can apply filters, again, across that whole market segment hierarchy. So if I want to view it for a particular rate code, I can do that right there. Or the similar capability exists across, source markets, booking channels, room classes and room types, loyalty membership programs, length of stay, and day of week. and we can apply any number of these, whatever, the whatever we need to answer the question at hand,
Gotcha.
is the way that I usually like to put that.
And so, if there was sort of reports that I know the GM's going to be asking me for regular, I've become the report guy, as you say. If I'm setting up these different ones, do I have to kind of can I save those reports, and how the functionality once I've set it up to make my life easier if I've got to produce them?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a number of different ways that we can, really make it easy to access those reports that are important or very useful for an individual user. So the first thing is that we have the ability to add a report to our favorites over here by clicking on the star. What that does is back on the homepage, right at the very top row, you can see all of the different screens in HotelIQ that you have either favorited or that you're using very frequently. So the idea there is that you start your day off, you fire up HotelIQ, and then I have my favorites, and I can just click them off, fire off those reports, launch them, run them, and then do whatever I need to with them.
Gotcha.
We also have the ability to schedule any of these reports to be delivered by email. So I can, set something like this up. I can pick my, what days of week and what time I want people to receive it. I can click on here. I can actually subscribe users other than myself to it. So if you have, your commercial team, something like that, we can set some parameters for it and then click save. And so on those days at that time, the people that I've selected will get an email with a version of the report attached to it. So we can automate that reporting in that kind of way.
Very good. And you've got a it looks like one of I see it all the time, these share buttons. So how's that different to emailing then? What's that about?
So that is our first step really towards furthering the collaboration aspect within HotelIQ. So the way
I bet you were talking about at the beginning about sort of working within it. Yeah, go on.
So it's a little bit similar to scheduling, but it's designed for use sort of in a more ad hoc, on the fly way. And so the use case for the share function is, say I have run this report and I have applied a whole range of filters. I've zoomed in on something and I have found something, I found some trend that I want to share with my team. And so I can click on this share icon again. I can click on my available users, whoever is within my team, and I can drop a note in here. So I can say, oh, I want to share this with my revenue manager and my head of sales and the GM. And I can drop a note and say, hey, check this out. That campaign that we're running has been super effective. Look at all the bookings that we picked up, and click send. And so when I do that, those users will get, first of all, an email. And then secondly, they will get an in-app notification here in HotelIQ. It'll look something like this. And it'll say, that Firas shared a report with you. And so whether it's from that email or whether it's here within HotelIQ, when they click on that, it's a link to the exact report that I just ran. So it's a carbon copy of that. So same hotel, same dates, all those same filters are pre-applied. We don't have to waste any time, going between again. And you're able to just, again, align everyone around that much faster. So previously what you would have to do is, we still have the ability here to export our reports. So you would, have to export it out to one of these formats, drop it on your desktop, open up your email, write the email, attach it to that. Maybe we forget the attachment the first time around. There's a lot of points of failure along there. Whereas here I can do it with literally just a couple clicks. And so that's our first step towards that collaboration piece, and something that we are moving further towards.
How often does the data daily? Is it that it's updating, or?
Yes, yeah. So our data refreshes once per day. And so if we jump back to the homepage over here, you'll be able to see it tells you, when the data is as of. So it's always as of close of business from the last day. And then, since we're here, I can point out, so those favorites and frequents that we were talking about,
I can see
that top row. And then the other thing is when, reports are shared, like I mentioned, it also creates these sections here. So reports that other people have shared with me and reports that I have shared with others, and I can go back and I can rerun these reports and look at them.
Gotcha. Interesting. So I guess if someone had, let's say I run a report at the end of the day and happened to see something, shared it or emailed it, and then I got a response back saying, yeah, let's talk about this tomorrow morning. Then when we go in and look at that report, will that have updated if the data has updated between the time I ran it at the end of the day to when I look at it the next day?
Exactly, 100%. So if you were
Right.
noticing,
Okay.
trends like that example where I said,
Yeah.
some campaign or promotion or something, you were looking at pickup for that. If you have that conversation the next morning, when you click on it and you run that report, it reruns and it says, okay, well now, you've picked up this many more, overnight.
Which is quite, and that comes back to your point of that single truth, because you could almost, if you were doing that and not using a solution like this, you'd almost have to rerun the report in the morning to see if anything had changed, because if you were working off of what had happened the previous day, we know in the hotel industry it's dynamic, don't we? So that
Exactly.
those numbers are not going to be accurate anymore.
Yep, exactly. And then you're in that scenario where it's, mine says this and yours says that. Why is there a difference?
No, that makes sense. Now, I can see you mentioned when you first opened this up, so we can see the favorites, we can see the shared, and then you had these different sections of apps below. So can you just talk us through? Because I mean, you've obviously got essentials, so that must mean something different to booking and stay and goal and performance. So if I started with you guys and just said, yeah, I want to sign up, but I want to get used to the system first, what do I kind of get at a base level?
Sure. So, I mean, the essentials are exactly just that. And so,
Okay.
at a bare minimum, everyone subscribing to HotelIQ gets these essential apps. So it gives you the ability to view your data through all of these different lenses. These are, the very basics. And so
Okay.
we provide that, starting at, you're looking at $1 US per room per month. So we make it, really, really low, barrier to entry. We want this to be accessible to basically anyone.
Mm-hmm. So what? Sorry, $1 US per room per month. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What, per user?
No, actually. So one of the other things is to really facilitate, that collaboration across the team. We don't work on a per seat model. So when you sign up for HotelIQ across, whether it's the essentials at $1 or any collection of apps, you are permitted an unlimited number of users. There's no additional charges for adding other users because, like I said, as the benefits accrue, the more hotels you have, the benefits also accrue the more users that you have. So what we had found in the past is that tools like HotelIQ and HotelIQ itself had occasionally been, it kind of gets regarded as a revenue management's tool, and they kind of own it and manage it, and that's fine. But what was occasionally happening is it was keeping other users out of it. And there's absolutely application and use here for people across the different commercial disciplines. Even at an operational level, there's something here for basically anyone. And so that all ties in with that decision cloud and feedback and vision in terms of bringing everybody into the tool.
Well, that's the ethos, isn't it? As you said, it's about taking that siloed data, bringing it into one space, and then having that collaboration across different individuals within teams or different departments, so that this is not about collating data. It is about what the data is telling us, so that we can then be making some strategic decisions or some changes we need to do.
Absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense. So where does so if they're the essentials, so they're the 6 ones that I would get if I sign up. So the booking and stay trends and the goals and performance, they're like additional ones I can add on, like in groups. So do I buy the booking and stay trend 3 app package, or how does that work?
So we split the tool out into 3 different tiers called Essentials, Smart, and Gifted, and each one of those is a different collection of apps and features, as well as some other details around the amount of historical data and things like that. But one of the other things that we've moved towards with this new model is also the ability to build custom packages. So even though we sell the product across those 3 tiers, you're not locked into what we offer in those tiers. You can kind of order a la carte, if you want to think about it that way, and add on individual apps and features as you like. So if you like everything that's in our base tier, but you're not quite ready to move up to that next tier, but you want to tack on a couple apps, absolutely, we can do that. We build you a custom package at a custom price that lands in between tier 1 and tier 2.
So I could kind of get lead time and stay trends, but that they might be the only two apps I want to add on top of the essentials, and you can do that. I'm not locked into buying the third one, for instance.
Absolutely, exactly. That's the idea.
Okay,
What we're really trying to go for is we want people to have, everything that they need and nothing that they don't want.
that makes a lot of sense. And the goals of performance, so forecast and budget is interesting, and I can see STR there. So that's obviously a partnership that you have. What are those about?
Sure. So forecasting and budgeting is an application here within HotelIQ that allows you to create and edit your own forecasts and budgets right here in HotelIQ, and
All
then
right.
report against your achievement of them. So we can report on things like reach to forecast, reach to budget,
Mm-hmm.
and we're even, in our more advanced forecasting tool, we're using an AI-powered prediction to create a, sort of an intelligent forecast baseline, to speed up that whole forecasting process, which can be quite painful sometimes.
Yeah.
And then using that same AI powered prediction, we're able to look out into the future and say, hey, you know what, we think there's some risk for this hotel, for this market, for this month. You may want to take a look at your forecast or your budget there. And then for STR, that is absolutely a partnership that we have. So we have the capability of either a one or a two-way integration with STR.
Mm-hmm.
What that means for the two-way integration is that if you have, as long as you have a STR subscription for the property, we can take the data out of the PMS and then submit it to STR on a hotel's behalf. They can still log into the STR portal and make changes to that if they wish. But it's just, again, automating that process that for a lot of hotels is still manual. Someone overnight still has to go to that STR portal, key in those figures. So we just, again, remove that margin for error and automate that. And then the second part of that integration is that STR shares with us, some of the same data that you get in your STAR report.
Okay.
And then so what we do with that is we, try and go beyond what you would be able to do or what you would be able to get within a STAR report. So using some of the other data that we have available, we throw it together and we mash it together there in that app, so that you can kind of take that next step.
Very, very good. Very good. Well, I think that's given us a pretty good sort of a headline overview of HotelIQ Decision Cloud. So let's bring you back. So I've got a couple of questions kind of going forward. So let's unshare. Okay, cool. So you're back. Brilliant. That was fascinating. Probably we could spend a lot more time probably going into each of those each of those apps, and I guess that's what you'll do if anyone gets in contact and wants to set up a demo with you. But one of the things, this is a new this is recently launched. I know you guys, there's been a lot of press release about this. You guys are going to be at HITEC coming up as well, so you're around there as if people want to come up, see you, see the solution,
100%.
get to know more about it.
Yes, so HITEC Toronto is at the end of June. Most of our team is based here in the Toronto area, so there's no way we would miss an opportunity. We will be there. We're actually going to have an event as well. So yeah, please, I would encourage people to connect with myself or other members of our team. If you're going to be at HITEC, come say hi and let's have a chat.
Perfect. And where do you think, I mean, just without giving away competitor intelligence of what's in your roadmap, but maybe an indication of how you see HotelIQ evolving from what is already looks like a pretty sophisticated tool. Where do you see areas that you guys are spending time looking at?
One of the areas that I want to move in towards and that we have discussed that's in the roadmap is, again, towards that vision of bringing more people within the broader commercial team into the tool, is within our account management and sales performance management. So going deeper into some of the aspects that appeal more to the sales organization within hospitality, even looking at sales performance reporting. So giving sales managers and leaders the ability to see the performance of individual people within that organization against their goals and targets. And then separately to that, we really want to move a little bit towards how can we best use AI?
There's also a big push as well around, I think coming out of obviously the pandemic, people's focus suddenly went on to profitability as well. And is that an area that you guys, tying in that whole forecasting, budgeting, revenue piece? Do you see profitability coming into it a little bit more?
Absolutely, yeah. So, we get a lot of feedback from current customers, from people who I speak to. They want to, again, it all fits in with that vision of that cohesive digital workspace where, if we're going to have the commercial functions, it only makes sense if we have something there for the finance professionals as well. So whether that is, something that we are going to go build out ourselves, another model that we're looking at, part of this, kind of like what we have with the STR app, is partnerships. So if there is, someone out there, a vendor who does a really awesome job of, hospitality financial analytics, we are certainly happy to, work with them and, build out, an app for them here within HotelIQ, have that available so that, we can bring a little bit of what they do into HotelIQ, but then also facilitate maybe something like a single sign-on, right, from HotelIQ into their solution, so that I was speaking with one of our users the other day, and she said, she has so many different tools and platforms that she has to use, and managing the passwords across all those is like another job in and of itself. So the more, I think what we're realizing is the more and more that you can use single sign-on to facilitate these kinds of things, users really, really appreciate it. So that's something that we're open to and that we're looking to do.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. Lots to keep you guys busy.
Yeah, absolutely. There's never a shortage.
Superb. Well, look, I really appreciate you finding the time today to explain where the problem exists within hotels with their data and why it can be challenging. I think it was also really useful to hear your perspective that actually, it's small data, not big data, and that the challenges aren't necessarily these massive data lakes that people talk about. It's manageable. You just need to have a solution that pulls it together and presents it to you in a way that you can actually, because it's not just about the analyzing, it's about what you can then do, what decisions, hence your phrase decision cloud. It's like there to help you make those decisions, and then for taking the time just to give us a bit of a snapshot, and so we could see the dashboards and the reporting and the collaboration piece. It's really appreciated. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Always fun talking to you.
Take care. Well, I hope that conversation was of interest, and thanks again to Firas for joining us. If you have any thoughts or views on this conversation, please do feel free to comment below. If you like the discussion, please don't forget a thumbs up. And if you're interested in more of our videos, here is a link to our Expert Insights playlist. Here is the link to our Coffee Time Chat playlist. And here is the button if you'd like to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Thanks again for watching.